a photographer and a videographer based in New Orleans. I've been here for a little over 4 years, and about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, I saw Humans of New York, and I thought that that was a really interesting way to combine photography and portraits with storytelling and interviewing, which were two of my passions that I'd been working on separately for a long time. So I just decided to do it. I literally was sitting at Cafe Du Monde with a friend who was visiting, and I was like, I'm gonna go take a picture of an employee here and interview him. So after I started to gain a following through Instagram on NOLA Beings, I decided, I wanted to start doing it right. So I started shooting all of the portraits with my real camera, really taking time and care with the portraits. Also took a lot more time with the interviewees, trying to make sure that I could get the best story that they wanted to share. And over the last 2+ years, I've just had a lot of fun seeing the project grow and change and evolve, and seeing myself grow and change and evolve as a photographer and as an interviewer. So I interviewed this woman who, at 60 years old, decided to move to New Orleans, and she told me, this is something that she had always wanted to do, and she didn't want to ever look back on her life and realize that she had been too afraid to make a change. And so I quoted her on that, and I posted her photo, and all of these other women who had moved to New Orleans late in life started writing in on the comments section on Facebook. And one of them messaged me privately and said, we're actually starting a group of these women that have all met through the Facebook comment section of NOLA Beings. And we'd like the contact information for the woman who you featured, who was interviewed. So I reached out to her, and she said it was okay, and they sent me a photo of all of these women getting lunch, all of these women who in their 50s and 60s moved to New Orleans for similar reasons, that they had always wanted to do it and just decided to go for it. And there are a lot of stories like that just really move me to see that there is a tangible outcome, a way that people can be moved by reading stories and relating to other humans that they would maybe have never crossed paths with. Everybody has a story. I met this guy a couple weeks ago. He was sitting on his stoop. He was covered in tattoos and had red hair, and was just leaning back, smoking cigarettes nonstop. First, I was just hearing about his job, his server job, and kind of the frustrations of working there, and can totally relate to that kind of thing. But then I started learning about how he went through this really rough time in his life, and a comic book got him through it. And as he went through the pages of this comic book, he started to realize that he had people in his own life that were really similar to each of the main characters in this comic book. And there are 40 or 50 or 60, I don't know how many, but there are lots and lots of characters in this comic book. So he started connecting them. He started calling his friends by their comic book equivalent. And when he got to a very low point in his life, where he was standing over a bridge thinking about jumping, somebody called him, and she became a superhero. And so when he went to recover and spend time with his family, he started writing up the profiles of each superhero, writing about each friend and why they were a superhero, and sharing them online and making someone's day every day. That he would share a story about a person, and all their friends and family would read that, and that just created this really positive energy around his friend community, that he realized that these people were always going to be there, that he had his crew, his squad of superheroes that were going to be around him, whether that's in actual physical proximity or just a phone call away. I don't need it to be a profitable thing. I need NOLA Beings to be something that I continue to love. And as long as I'm doing it for the right reasons, I'm going to continue to love it. I'm going to continue to do it. As soon as it becomes something that is connected with my my finances, I think I'm going to start feeling like it's work. And so as it is now, I have complete flexibility to stop for a month if I want, if I don't have time, and nobody can say, you owe us this. And I think that keeps it. I think that keeps it so that the posts I do share, even if they're less frequent, are meaningful, and they're coming from a place of me genuinely wanting to be talking to those people. When you go up to a stranger who is like dressed like a complete wacko on the street, you're gonna have an idea that person is gonna be crazy eccentric, and maybe they are, but maybe they also have this like really powerful, intense, profound story that you would have never kind of just guessed. It's just become like my treasure hunt to find something about a person that I would have never guessed was part of them. One of my goals is to just show a whole spectrum of people that come from all different backgrounds, all different parts of the city, all different ages and races and religions. And I don't think that we necessarily all get to interface with each other in that kind of way. And so I think the reason that people follow my project and follow other projects like Humans of New York, which is huge, is that we're able to see ourselves in someone else that we wouldn't necessarily think we'd relate to. When you read a story about something that could be your own story, or could be a story that reminds you of your own story, but the person telling the story, someone who looks nothing like you, that opens our minds just a little bit further to this idea of like a common humanity. And I think that people want that. I've realized through doing this project that you really can never make an assumption about anybody. I think it's, we all have these sort of like ideas of who we think people might be based on how they dress, or how they look, or how old they are, or how they walk, or whatever. And the more time I spend interviewing people, I just am constantly surprised by the interesting, confusing, funny, hard stories that they share. I hope that the project just begins to chip away at people's preconceived notions and stereotypes, and maybe opens our mind to the idea that we need each other. We all have a commonality, and that this country and this city are what they are because of all the different types of people that are here, all the different races and religions and ethnic groups that have come together, make this city what it is. So I hope that what people get out of this is the ability to see themselves in others, and maybe the desire to talk to a stranger that they wouldn't necessarily talk to the next time they're walking down the street.